Hi, I'm Rick Jones. I'm the head of marketing in North America for InMobi, and I'm here today with Sana Choudary, who's the CEO of YetiZen, and we're going to have a short discussion about what we see happening here in the game developer industry. So thanks, Sana. Just wanted to ask you a couple questions while you're here.
Sure thing.
One is, what caused you to found YetiZen?
That's a really interesting story. I'd say about 3 years ago, we were seeing all this great success from game developers coming from different walks of life and different parts of the game industry on their own as independent game developers. But there were a lot of rookie mistakes on the business side that were done quite often, right? So things around user acquisition, around what category to pick. Is it a category they're going to be out-muscled in, or is it something where they can actually succeed as a startup? And separately, we knew all these folks who had learned those lessons and did quite well and were successful. And so YetiZen started off with this idea that everything we do is going to raise all ships in the game industry to get more game developers to be successful, both financially as well as in terms of the games being engaging and fun. And that's the core mission that we continue to have to this day. We do the YetiZen Speaks event series, which we're partnering with you guys on for at least for the next year. And then we also run an accelerator for a little bit later stage company that have some product and traction in market, and we help them scale further from there.
No, that's awesome.
Thanks.
And as you mentioned, YetiZen and InMobi are partnering to bring new knowledge to developers. What are some of the business issues that you see really being key to developers, making that leap from once they design their game to trying to turn it into more of a business?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. Because there's definitely areas around user acquisition and monetization, which is knowledge that exists in a lot of larger companies within their four walls. But anyone who may be a great game designer, game developer at one of those companies goes off and starts a company on their own, doesn't know that, and often has to burn through a lot of cash and a lot of time to actually get those lessons. To give you an example, a company I caught up with recently got $2 million of Tim Draper's money, had 10 games in 2 years that they made from it, and learned the lessons around, needing to test in a test market, looking at engagement metrics, looking at what stores performed, what actually customer acquisition channels performed well, a number of other things, which honestly, if they had conversations with you guys at InMobi, as well as a lot of other speakers who come to the YetiZen events, they wouldn't have learned by burning through that much cash. So ultimately, that particular company is failing, and we think, wow, that company actually got funding. Many don't, and they're putting their own money and learning those lessons the hard way. So let's learn it all the easier way, and that's why we're doing all these events with you guys. We did 2 great ones, I believe, on user acquisition and monetization already, and then we have a number of other good ones coming up between now and end of December.
No, that's fantastic news. And just one last question. We're curious what your thoughts were as far as what's really going to drive the game development industry going forward in your view.
Wow, that's a great question. So I think about it in terms of 2 things, right? One, having the user acquisition and monetization chops, developing that competency, learning from others, sharing that information, which is what our events are around. And the second thing is picking something where you actually have a fighting chance to succeed in, given your team competencies and given the talent you're able to pull together, right? So let's not make yet another match 3 game because there's so many out there. It's a very competitive market, unless there's something very specific that is going to allow you to win. It's going to be a big sort of deal breaker for a player to not play your game, right? So how do you think about things like that? That whole field of category analysis, talk to 5 people, each of them will have a completely different opinion. But the idea is if we don't actually have these discussions, we don't get much further in terms of thinking what's up and coming, what's new, what's likely to succeed. And by the time we make games, we're making them when you hear about competitors in the press, and hey, by then that market's probably much too mature for a company just starting off because someone else has a lot more success in that space.
That sounds pretty exciting. I'm glad we're in the games business.
I know, it's a very exciting business. We get to play all the games.
That is
Our
true.
job is hard. We play so many games.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Look forward to our partnership.
Likewise.